Good morning, everyone. Welcome to CWM. Today is August the 17th. Well, as announced, today's topic is we will talk about landlord-tenant relationship series, but today we want to talk about residential tenants' responsibility. Last meeting, we talked about residential landlord's responsibility, but we're talking about the other side today. Well, we know pretty much what the landlord will do and must do, but we want to take a look at the New Jersey standard lease agreement. Okay, so a lot of agents still didn't read the actual New Jersey standard residential lease agreement. So today we want to extract from the item 15 and item 18. We want to go through sentence by sentence what the lease agreement says about the tenant's responsibility. Okay. The item number 15 says the tenant's repair and maintenance. The tenant shall, it starts, the tenant shall pay for all repairs and replacement and damages caused by the act or neglect of the tenant and the tenant's family and domestic employees, guests and visitors, which includes but is not limited to sewer and plumbing drainage problems caused by the tenant. So often tenant calls landlord that the sewer drainage got problem. Well, according to the lease agreement, once the tenant takes over leasehold property, the tenant's responsibility pretty much well, of course, when tenant moves in, they have to check the drainage is okay. And then from that moment on is basically tenant's responsibility because it says that the tenant shall pay all repairs, replacement, the damages, including sewer and plumbing drainage problems caused by the tenant. And the B, to keep and maintain the property in a neat, clean, safe, and sanitary condition. This is what they agreed between landlord and tenant. Now, after we go over A, B, C, D, and I think it's to S, probably we feel that too much for tenant. Okay, but still agreement is agreement. Okay, so we have to keep in mind this is what we agreed. So tenant has to do it. And C, cut the grass and maintaining shrubbery. Well, this would be excluded for the condominium cases, but it's cut the grass and maintain shrubbery is for the single family house. D, drive and park vehicles only in designated area, if any. It's kind of obvious. And E, take a good care of the property and all equipment and fixtures, carpeting and appliances located in it. This is also common sense. And F, keep the furnace clean and regularly change furnace filters if applicable. Kind of makes sense also. They didn't include air conditioning filters, but by the common sense, if we have this, the furnace filter, tenant has to change it, then probably we can interpret this as also all filters. G, keep nothing in the property which is flammable, dangerous, or which might increase danger or fire or other casualty. So often we have to deal with the gas grill. Whether the gas grill will be permitted or not. But according to this item, G, they should not keep the gas grill. Sometimes condo allows only electrical grill. But again, according to this lease agreement, the tenant has to know that whether they can use the gas grill. The gas grill means the grill is connected public gas pipe, it's okay. But the grill that use portable, the gas canister, for instance, that would be an issue. Okay, the next item is H. Promptly notify the landlord of any condition which requires repairs to be done. That's also common sense. Sometimes the tenant kind of neglect to notify landlord and just to do what just they can do. So that's not the right way. According to the lease agreement, the tenant has to notify the landlord promptly. And use the electric and plumbing and other systems of facilities in a safe manner. It's also common sense. Promptly remove all garbage and recyclables from the property and place it at the curb or other designated area in the proper containers in accordance with the prescribed pickup schedule. That's also common sense. Sometimes tenant does not keep the schedule. In other words, they put the garbage bag the day earlier at the curbside. Town will give the ticket, and most likely ticket will be delivered to the owner's address. And obviously, tenant has to pay the penalty, but landlord will be notified. K, not engage in any activity which may cause a cancellation or an increase in the cost of a landlord's insurance coverage. That's also common sense. And L, use no more electricity than the receptacles, wiring, or feeders to the property can safely carry. That also sounds like common sense. M, obey all instructions, written or otherwise, of the landlord for the care and use of appliances, equipment, and other personal properties. Obey all instructions, written or otherwise. Otherwise means orally given. The tenant has to obey all instructions of what landlord says. Okay, they agreed clearly. And do nothing to destroy, deface, or damage any part of the property. Well, you know what? After all, we read this and we, let's say, agreed between landlord and tenant, and landlord has to live with this. Looks like you have to buy your own house, after all, because there are so many things that tenant shall perform. And O, promptly comply with all orders and rules of the Board of Health or any other governmental authority which are directed to the tenant. That's also obvious. Okay, and then P, do nothing which interferes with the use and enjoyment of neighboring properties. We often have this problem. So the tenant shall not do nothing which interferes with the use and enjoyment of neighboring properties. Okay, Q, Do nothing to cause any damage to any trees and landscaping on the property. That's also a common sense, looks like. And R, this often could be a problem. R, keep the walks and driveway free from dirt, debris, snow, ice, and any hazardous object. Well, that is why the tenant and landlord agreed with this item. That's why tenant's responsibility to remove snows. Okay. Often we try to negotiate this part, but according to lease agreement, okay, the snow removal and also cut the grass and maintaining lawn is also primarily tenant's responsibility unless we specify otherwise. Okay, so you have to keep in mind, it's a kind of a default agreement. The tenant has to do lawn care and the snow removal. Okay, but sometimes owner can provide, the landlord can provide, okay, I will take care of the lawn care. That's negotiable. In that case, what we can do is we can cross out, this is item number C, cut the grass and maintain shrubbery. We delete this if landlords agree to take care of. Okay, S. Comply with such rules and regulations that may be published from time to time by the landlord. Tenant has to comply with the rules and regulations may be published from time to time by the landlord. So tenant has to obey what landlords are said to do. Okay. But that's what the landlord and tenant agreed. And a lot of cases, I think most of cases, we do not understand what we agreed between landlord and tenant. So if agent is involved, then agent should know about these items that then we have to let them know. Let them understand this is what agreed between landlord and tenant. So landlord and the tenant has to keep up to what it says. And agreement says tenant shall. It's very strong. The tenant shall. Okay, they do all these. So we better understand what our agreement made, and we have to let them know if they don't know before any problems arises between any conflict, any arguing, any quarreling between landlord and tenant. And for the item number 18 specifies no alterations or installation of equipment. The tenant may not alter or change the property without first obtaining landlord's written consent. By way of example, the tenant may not install any improvements such as carpeting, paneling, floor tiles, or any other improvement which is nailed or tacked down, cemented, and glued in. But sometimes, tenant misunderstood. If tenant do some improvement, then they think the landlord will like it. But according to agreement, tenant cannot do anything by their own. They have to get the written consent. Okay, that's what they have to do. And B, install any locks or chain guards. The tenant cannot change locks unless landlord consent, and also chain guards. C, wallpaper, affix wall coverings, or other permanent type of decorations. also tenant has to know. Well, basically say tenant cannot do anything. That's what this lease agreement says, whether you feel fairness or not. At D, install or change the electrical, plumbing, heating, or air cooling system. That's obvious. And further, they agreed when painting, whether interior or exterior, the tenant must have the landlord's permission regarding paint colors. Okay, listen to this agreement. Even the color, the tenant has to get the permission from landlord. And all the painting must be done in a professional and workmanlike manner. So also it has to be a very professional job. If a tenant will paint any interior or exterior, the tenant shall repair all walls and ceilings which had pictures or fixtures attached prior to vacating. So oftentimes we have the problem with the holes. Okay, the screw because of the screws or because of the nails, there are a lot of holes on the walls. Okay, so tenant has to repair these holes according to agreement. I'm not saying what I'm saying, but I'm speaking about what lease agreement we agreed between landlord and tenant. Okay. So prior to vacating, they have to repair all walls and ceilings which had pictures or fixtures attached. And all changes, additions, or improvements made without the landlord's written consent shall be removed by the tenant on demand by the landlord. So if a landlord says when they terminate the lease, when they move out, okay, this is not I installed as a landlord, you install, you remove. Okay, so shall be removed by tenant completely, cleanly. That's what tenant and landlord agreed. The property shall be in substantially the same condition at the end of the term as it was at the beginning of the term, reasonable wear and tear expected. I think you know this expression very well, reasonable wear and tear. So that's exception. Okay, so the landlord will accept the reasonable wear and tear condition, but other than that, they have to make it exactly the same condition as before they move in. All permitted changes, additions, and improvements shall become the property of a landlord when completed. Also, we have to be careful. All additions and improvements shall become the property of the landlord when completed, shall be fully paid for by the tenant, and shall remain as part of the property at the end of the term of this lease, unless the landlord demands that tenant to remove them. So once tenant installs something, okay, if there is no specific agreement, then it becomes landlord's property. That's what agreement says. That's not our common sense says. The tenant shall not allow any construction lien or other claim to be filed against the property, and any such lien or claim is filed against the property, the tenant shall have it promptly removed. Okay, so maybe lien may be very less likely happen, but all other issues pretty much relevant, and we can have this kind of problems often. 오늘은 우리가 뉴저지 스탠다드 레지던셜 리즈 어그리먼트에 있는 아이템 15하고 18의 주로 tenants responsibility에서 좀 검토를 해봤죠. 이제 우리가 상당히 문제가 많이 되는데 사실은 이 아이템 넘버 15의 A에서부터 S까지 있었죠. 그거를 잘 숙지하면 많은 문제가 저절로 정리가 다 될 것 같아요. 테넌트는 테넌트 shall 그랬어요. shall 굉장히 strong한 워딩을 썼고요. 그래서 테넌트의 잘못으로 된 모든 것은 플러밍을 포함해서 그리고 하수도가 안 나간다, 화장실이 안 나간다 이런 것도 다 처음 컨디션은 잘 나갔다. 그러면 중간에 안 나간다고 하는 것은 우리가 상식적으로 테넌트가 잘 사용하지를 못했다라고 추정할 수밖에 없죠. 그런 경우 이것은 테넌트의 문제다. 테넌트가 다 페이를 하고 고쳐야 된다라는 조항이 A번에 되어 있고요. 뭐 상식적인 게 상당히 많은데 전반적으로 우리가 이걸 다 지키려면 계약서 그대로 그러면 빨리 집을 사야 되겠다는 생각이 들 것 같아요. 제가 만약에 렌트를 산다면 왜냐하면 여기 뭐 깨끗하게 써야 되고요. 뭐 많은 것들이 돼 있어요. 그리고 cut the grass and maintain shrubbery 이렇게 그 잡목을 자르고 그 이제 플랜트 있는 거 그다음에 그 잔디도 자르고도 일단은 primary tenant responsibility로 어그리를 했다. 그러니까 만약에 주인이 해준다 아니면은 칸도어 같은 경우는 이거를 지워야 되겠죠, 그죠? 두 줄로 따고 지우고 인셜하면 되니까. 그다음에 파킹 잘해야 되고, 그다음에 프로퍼티 뭐 장비 이런 거 잘 메인테인스 해야 되고, 포너스에 필터도 갈아줘야 되고, 클린하게 킵을 해야 되고, 이걸 다 테넌트들이 사실은 지켜야 되죠. 왜? 본인들이 어그리한 거니까. 다만 우리가 ignorance라고 그러죠. 모르기 때문에 내가 뭘 어그리했는지 모르고 렌터를 들어가기 때문에 때로는 테넌트들이 많이 오해를 해가지고 이것도 주인이 해줘야 되고 저것도 주인이 해줘야 되고 본인은 여기에 있는 아이템을 지키지 않으면서 almost personally 제가 느끼기는 참 페어하지 않을 정도로 테넌트한테 불리하다고 할까요? 굉장히 그 클린하게 쓰라는 거를 굉장히 강조를 해놨고요. 가스 그릴이 가끔 문제가 될 때 있어요. 왜? 이 아이템 때문에 그게 불이 날 수 있는 그러한 그 요소가 있기 때문에 그러나 그거는 이제 칸도 같은 데라면은 허가사항으로 이제 보면 되고요. 그다음에 문제가 있을 때 주인한테 바로 알려줘야 되는 문제가 이제 테넌트 책임이에요. 어떤 경우는 알리지 않고 본인이 다 고쳐놓고 아무 얘기도 안 하고 그래서 나중에 이제 나갈 때 시큐리티 디파짓 때문에 점검할 때 보면 뭐 이상하게 막 변형되어 있는 경우도 많이 있죠. 절대로 하지 못한다는 그런 거를 알아두셔야 되고 가비지 같은 거 잘 치우는 게 테넌트의 룰이고 그다음에 뭐 전기 사용 이런 거야 뭐 큰 문제가 별로 없죠. 그건 상식적인 문제니까. 그다음에 여기 보면은요. 랜로드의 그 인스트럭션을 잘 오베이 하라는 단어를 썼어요. 테넌트는 랜로드의 인스트럭션을 이렇게 해라 하는 것을 rules and regulation, 랜로드가 퍼블리시하는 그런 거를 오베이 해야 된다고 써 있어요. 그래서 강하게 그런 것들이 써 있다. 그리고 당연히 드라이브웨이 같은 것도 깨끗이 써야 되고요. 청소 없어야 되고 여기 이제 한 가지 중요한 룰이 스노우 리무블은 반드시 테넌트가 해야 된다라고 일단은 어그리를 한 거예요. 그러니까 사실은 따로 이렇게 우리가 프로비전을 쓸 필요는 없을 것 같아요. 다음 시간에는 그 스탠다드 지금 현재 뉴저지 북부 뉴저지에서 우리가 사용하는 프로비전 있죠. 뭐 거기다 뭐 쓰죠. 뭐 이렇게 여러 가지 몇 가지를 따로 우리가 리튼으로 쓰는 거 한번 스탠다드를 좀 점검해 보려고 해요. 이걸 먼저 검토하고 여기에 있는 거는 사실은 쓸 필요가 없는데 자, 그래서 그런 것들이 있고요. 여기도 또 나오죠. 랜로드에 의해서 퍼블리시 되는 그건 수시로 할 수 있을 랜드는 rules and regulation을 테넌트는 comply 해야 된다. 그 다음에 이제 테넌트가 뭘 고치려고 하는 거, 뭘 improve 하려고 하는 거 있죠. 그런 거는 written consent, 랜드로드의 written consent, 동의가 없이는 안 된다라는 거. 그리고 일단은 뭐든지 해놓은 거는 결국은 랜로드의 프로퍼티가 된다는 거. unless 랜로드는 리무브를 요청할 수가 있어요. 리무브 하라 그러면 또 테넌트는 완전히 리무브 해야 돼요. 그 다음에 이제 중요한 거는 컬러 같은 거 페인트 칠할 때도 색깔도 랜로드 허가를 받아야 돼요. 그리고 프로페셔널한 페인팅을 해야 돼요. 본인들이 막 이렇게 덕지덕지 하면 또 안 돼요. 어그리 해놓은 거예요, 그거는. 그 다음에 이제 요거가 전 문제가 많이 되죠. 벽에 구멍 난 거, 못자국 난 거, 스크루 박은 거, 이런 구멍 난 걸 어떻게 해야 되느냐? 어그리먼트에는 다 리페어를 하게 돼 있어요. 그 홈디포 가면 이렇게 조그맣게 페이스트 같은 거 팔죠. 그래서 그거를 목구멍을 메꾸고 페인트를 터치업을 하면 좋은데, 그래서 랜로드들이 페인트를 좀 세이브해주면 좋을 거예요. 조금 쓰다 남은 거. 왜냐하면은 터치업을 할 때 페인트가 다르면 아주 흉해지죠. 그러니까 구멍을 테넌트들은 홈디포 가서 이렇게 페이스트 팔죠. 조그만 통에 그거를 메꾸고 그 다음에 거기다가 페인트를 터치업을 하면 그 정도로 리페어 되는 거는 랜드도 억셉트를 해야 되겠죠. 그러나 어그리먼트 상에 분명히 다 픽스를 하고 리페어를 해야 된다. 그런 것들이 적혀져 있어요. 그리고 네, 대충 뭐 커버된 것 같아요. 그리고 우리가 많이 이제 하는 문장, 이사 나갈 때에 전부 청소는 물론이고 same condition, original condition하고 same condition으로 전부 완전히 복귀를 해야 된다. 그거는 우리가 흔히 다 알고 있죠. 안 그러면 무슨 문제가 생기냐? 시큐리티 디파짓에서 디덕션 할 수 있는 명분을 랜로드한테 주게 된다. 가끔 청소 문제 때문에 이제 시비가 걸리는 경우가 많은데, 청소도 마찬가지. 들어올 때 그렇게 까다롭게 했다면 나갈 때도 본인들이 그만큼 한 것처럼 깨끗이 하고 나가야 되겠죠. 이거를 유권 해석을 해본다면. 그러나 except 예외 조항은 reasonable한 wear나 tear는 우리가 accept를 할 수 있다라고 계약서에 돼 있다. 그런 거죠. 오케이. 그 계약서 자체를 한번 리뷰해 봤으니까 여러분들이 이거를 또 이제 해석하면서 많은 상황에 접했을 때에 풀어나갈 수 있도록. 근데 뭐 랜로드 마음대로냐 아니면 테넌트 마음대로냐 그거 가지고는 안 되죠, 그죠? 그러니까 리튼 어그리먼트를 가지고 설명을 하고 이렇게 우리가 어그리한 거다라고 얘기하면 서로 많이 문제를 조절할 수가 있겠죠. Okay, this is it. We just kind of reviewed the actual lease agreement, standard user agreement, item number 15 and 18, so we can understand the tenant's responsibility. Okay, that's it for today's mini seminar, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all next week.